Roger Moore was my first Bond. Not chronologically, I wasn't born in the 70s, but he was the first Bond I really connected with. I vividly remember watching recorded VHSs of his movies from ITV at the time. I got so excited to record them. I was so interested, I was so hooked. It just changed everything for me. There was just something about his Bond, the raised eyebrow, the effortless charm, the way he seemed to enjoy being Bond more than anyone else. He made being a secret agent look like the most fun game in the world for a kid watching. Dangerous, yes, but full of style, gadgets, great suits, vehicles, and a cheeky grin at the end of it. After Sean Connery pioneered the serious and suave spy, he decided he was finally done with playing the character in 1971, and so it was time for a change. Enter Roger Moore, who literally changed the entire vibe, making the beloved spy more fun-loving and carefree. I think he really developed his take on James Bond during his years on The Saint, to be honest. Roger Moore clearly understood the adventure movie craze of the 70s and 80s, and he knew Bond had to keep up with that. Several of his films are among my favourites. 1973's Live and Let Die, while not his best performance, is still a blast. Like, I really do love the film, even though I've got to be honest that it still felt like a Connery project, but you kind of just knew Roger Moore was slowly cooking away at the character. The best thing about Live and Let Die probably isn't Roger Moore, but it's the crazy stuff around him. Like, I love the blaxploitation feel mixed with the crazy voodoo angle. Visually, it's an unforgettable film. It's got one of the best Bond girls, one of the most unique villains. And even though Moore was still half in Connery's shadow, moments like running across the heads of crocodiles and confronting undead voodoo legend Baron Samedi make the film stand out. The colours, the style, the unpredictable energy, all of that makes up for the fact that Roger hadn't quite grown into the role yet, but you can still call his first outing as Bond a triumph.
Guy Hamilton, as I mentioned before, he directed the first Bond I did, and we went to lunch and you know, discussing any reservations that I had or he might have. And he said, we will deliberately, you know, obviously you've got to say my name is, I said, because that's the thing that wakes me up at night. I keep hearing myself saying, my name is Bond, James Bond. And I mustn't do that, you know, because I can't do any more.
1974's The Man with the Golden Gun is very entertaining. Seeing him go up against Christopher Lee's Scaramanga, that alone makes it worth your time. It's a battle of screen legends, and the final gun duel is one of the best villain showdowns in any Bond movie. The film is incredibly camp, and Roger introduces more of his trademark jokiness, but Connery's baggage is still lingering. You've got this jokey Bond, but he's still cold and aggressive towards women. It feels out of place, like the writers hadn't committed fully to Moore's approach yet. Yet you can still see his vision for the character poking through. There are moments that could only happen with him in the role, like the famous car flip scene, even if that silly sound effect kind of ruins it.
Ever heard of Evel Knievel?
Golden Gun is fun. When it tries to be serious, it doesn't work, and when it tries to be silly, it sometimes goes too far. It's a bit all over the place. Watchable, absolutely. But Moore's Bond wasn't fully formed yet. That would come next.
And apart from that, people have enough problems in the world without going and seeing them on the screen. It's better they should escape from the humdrum, normal existence into the world of fantasy.
1977 is where it all clicked. The Spy Who Loved Me is just a blast. Whether it's Roger Moore driving an underwater car, confronting the iconic Jaws, or playing off of a strong female lead like Barbara Bach's Triple X, everything just clicks. Bond is cracking more jokes, moving with suave confidence, and fully enjoying life. It's like the character finally sheds the emotional baggage left by Sean Connery. Now you would see Bond share a joke with authority. He had banter with Q&M, and he brought a certain lightness to scenes that had once felt stuffy. He was ready to embrace the spectacular, the wild, the unpredictable, and he did it all with a cocky smile that somehow stayed likeable. That's the magic of Roger Moore. He could be arrogant without seeming pompous because he knew the films weren't too serious. He didn't treat the character like Shakespeare, he just had fun with it. The shackles were off, and Bond was just pure joy by the late 70s. The difference between the campiness in Spy Who Loved Me and Man with the Golden Gun is just that it's smartly written in Spy Who Loved Me. The humour isn't random. It walks a line, crafting a playful tone that suits Moore's style. There's passion for the material here, nothing feels forced. And those scenes with Jaws are iconic. He's arguably the greatest henchman in the franchise. Played by Richard Kiel, he was basically Roger Moore's odd job, and Roger Moore needed that. He needed this great henchman, and he was so good they brought him back in the next film. How often does that happen? And the underwater car is just cool. Like, it seems ridiculous today, but I just remember vividly watching that scene over and over and just being glued to it and just thinking, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And you got a classic final showdown. I mean, put yourself in the shoes of a late 70s moviegoer. This was all revolutionary. The Spy Who Loved Me is beautifully directed, paced and acted. It's everything Bond should be, with the perfect Bond for this time. Then they went to space.
Heartbroken, Mr. Drax. Take a giant step for mankind.
1979's Moonraker is absolutely bonkers. You can't really word it any other way. It's got the most preposterous plot of any Bond film, and only Roger Moore could pull it off. It is still supremely entertaining. I love just basking in the madness. Even before the space scenes, there's fun stuff. The parachute sequence, the cable car fight with Jaws who returns.
Do you know him?
Not socially. His name's Jaws. He kills people.
And then yes, we go to space. It's ludicrous, but hey, the lasers were cool, the sets were pretty ace, and Roger Moore, bless him, fully committed to it. Does it come together entirely? Well, not really, but it reflects the ambition Moore had for the series. He wanted to keep James Bond evolving, even if it meant going a bit nuts. Michael Lonsdale's Hugo Drax is a classic villain, and despite everything, Moonraker is never boring. You can laugh along with it because it never pretends to be something it's not. It's self-aware fun. Sure, they probably should have stuck to the tone of Spy Who Loved Me, but Moore was so beloved by then that we forgave him. He owned the role. We were just along for the ride, wherever it might take us, on this planet or to space. They really did it to keep up with Star Wars and the sci-fi craze at the time, so you've got to put it into context and understand that it wouldn't have been that much out of left field that James Bond was going to space, whether it was correct or not, but everyone was going to space at the time. By For Your Eyes Only in 1981, Roger Moore was starting to show his age. He'd started playing Bond at 45 and was now 53. His age had become a talking point, but I think he adjusted really well. In this film he plays more of an elder statesman James Bond, not seeking an overt sexual relationship with the female lead Melina, played by Carol Bouquet. There's a sense that Roger was becoming more self-aware. If he was going to keep playing Bond, he had to update the character to fit his age. So For Your Eyes Only gave us a grittier, more grounded story. Bond came back down to earth. Literally.
I'm delighted with this one, the fact that the villains are more recognisable as ordinary human beings. They don't want to build empires in space or under the ocean.
His connection with Melina isn't just about attraction, it's about guiding her through revenge and emotional growth. For once, Moore's Bond actually reflects on the morality and consequences of his actions. Still a blast of an action movie too. The car chase in the yellow Citroen is so unique and low-key that it becomes badass. It proved Bond didn't need fancy gadgets to be exciting. He could just have great chases in normal cars. The rock climbing finale is genuinely tense, maybe the most nail-biting scene in the series up to that point. I admire the ambition of this film. Moore kept his ego in check and embraced the realism. No more space travel. This was grounded, human and surprisingly moving. So when people say that Roger Moore was just a ridiculous Bond and all his films were crazy and insane and wild, I think they forget For Your Eyes Only. Roger Moore could have just carried on doing ludicrous films, which were fun, but he decided to prove he could do a serious, down-to-earth Bond too, and that deserves admiration. Then came Octopussy in 1983, and along with that, the Battle of the Bonds.
After 20 years of chasing arch-villains and voluptuous women across the movie screen, James Bond, Secret Agent 007, will be back this year, this time in 2 rival film versions. 12 years ago, Sean Connery said he would never play 007 again, but he is starring in the new Bond thriller, appropriately called Never Say Never Again, which proves Where there's a buck, there's a way.
In the end, Roger Moore's Octopusy won the box office battle. I'll be honest, it's not one of my favourites, but it is better than the film that came out alongside it. Never Say Never Again was a massive disappointment for me.
Sean is Sean, and I'm me, and you inject a lot of your personality that is right for the character into it. And it's basically, leading men have to be personalities, and his personality is different to mine. And so it comes out differently.
But still, Octopussy is kind of a mess. It's got Cold War politics, Fabergé eggs, a literal circus, and Roger Moore dressed as a clown trying to stop a nuke. It feels like it's caught between the craziness of Moonraker and the grounded style of For Your Eyes Only. The tone is all over the place. 1 minute a Cold War thriller, the next a cartoon. That said, the train sequence is great, Maud Adams is a memorable Bond girl, and it was refreshing to see a more age-appropriate love interest. She and Roger have great chemistry, and she's actually a really interesting character. Roger is still having a blast here, cracking those dad jokes, flipping henchmen, seducing women, but this feels like his last hurrah, the last time he was really comfortable in the role. And then came one more. See what I did there?
It's never routine, except work is routine, in one sense. But they're always different. They change the faces. Don't change mine, you just put a few more tram lines on it.
1985's A View to a Kill is as 80s as it gets. Loud, stylish, fun. I've always really enjoyed this one, and honestly, if Roger had been younger, it might be one of my favourites. The Duran Duran theme song is an absolute banger, one of the best in the series. Grace Jones as Mayday, wild and unforgettable. She might be the first true henchwoman in Bond history. Grace Jones was a massive star at the time and she just dominates this role. What a mysterious, eerie presence she has, but great charisma. Christopher Walken as the villain, come on. He was born to play a James Bond villain, and he's psychotic in that perfect Christopher Walken way.
But that means I would have to be
dead. That's rather neat, don't you think?
Brilliant.
There's a lot of great stuff here, crazy action, wild stunts and a genuine sense of fun, but Roger's age is really noticeable. Even as a kid watching, I really noticed. It stretches believability, and the age gap with his love interest Tanya Roberts is awkward. Even Roger apparently thought so, and that's what made him realise it was time to hang up the tux. Still, there's a lot of effort behind A View to a Kill. The Golden Gate Bridge finale is one of the most epic in the franchise. I mean, what a way to go out. And maybe the performance isn't quite at the heights we've seen earlier, but it's still Roger Moore. And he had made James Bond fun, fresh and full of life for over a decade.
And you've done so many of them now, in all due respects. I mean, you're in your 50s. How do you keep up with the rigors of the role?
Well, you see, I've got these wonderful braces that hold me upright.
By the time Roger Moore handed in his license to kill, he'd defined Bond for a whole generation. And yeah, some of the films are dated, some of the jokes are cheesy, some of the plots are absolutely bonkers, but that's the thing. Roger's Bond was never trying to be gritty realism. He gave us Bond as escapism, Bond as fantasy, Bond as entertainment, and he nailed it. He wasn't Sean Connery, he didn't try to be, he carved his own path, smooth, tongue-in-cheek, and just a little bit ridiculous. And somehow it worked, maybe even better than it had any right to. Let me know your favourite Roger Moore Bond movie or moment in the comments. What are your thoughts on this iconic Bond actor? And if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing for more cult and classic movie content, and I'll see you guys next time.